Right now on Morning News Now, courtroom drama as Donald Trump's defense begins its case. The effort to discredit Michael Cohen is kicking into high gear. The shocking admission and why the judge cleared the courtroom during a heated exchange. Also this morning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaking out after the International Criminal Court's decision to seek a warrant for his arrest for war crimes. The fiery response from the White House and what the ICC is saying about those charges. Plus, thousands in Texas waking up still without power after deadly storms slammed the state. But while the storms are gone, a new danger is now moving in with the heat index set to hit triple digits. In some areas, we have the full forecast. And a painful chapter in American history becomes a powerful new memorial. We're taking you inside America's newest National Historic Site and the decades-long push to make it happen. Good morning. I'm Christine Romans in for Joe and Savannah this morning. We begin here in New York with Donald Trump's hush money case set to resume for what could be the final day of testimony. In court, day 19 was filled with high drama, with Michael Cohen's credibility continuing to be the major focus of this trial. The defense doing its best to poke holes in Cohen's testimony during cross-examination. But the real fireworks started when the defense called Robert Costello to the stand. The criminal attorney who briefly advised Cohen complained several times during questioning, and it didn't sit well with the judge. Judge Juan Merchan cleared the courtroom before slamming Costello for his behavior. Judge Merchan also laying out a new timeline for the trial's end, with closing arguments now not set to start until May 28th, which means this case won't be in the hands of the jury until after the long holiday weekend. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard has been following the trial closely for us. He joins us from right outside the courthouse. And NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos is also here for more analysis. Vaughn, let's start with you. This was one of the more heated days in court that we've seen during the course of this trial, with Robert Costello really irritating Judge Merchan. Tell us more about him and why his testimony matters here.
Right, Christine, irritated him to the point that Judge Merchan had the assembled press and the jury leave the courtroom so that he could directly admonish the witness, Robert Costello, who he says gave him side-eye, sounded exasperated. At one point, when Judge Merchan struck something from the record, Robert Costello said, yes, strike that, to which Judge Merchan said, we need to have a discussion about proper decorum here. And he said, there is only one person here who can strike something from the record, and that is me. Robert Costello is this individual that came into the picture in 2018. Back in April of 2018 is when FBI agents raided the hotel room and the home of Michael Cohen and seized his phones and other records. And Michael Cohen turned to Robert Costello sort of as an informal, formal legal advisor at that point in time. And Robert Costello is did tell the jury that Michael Cohen at that time said that he did the Stormy Daniels payment all on his own, not at the direction of Donald Trump. The prosecution, though, is pushed back, suggesting that this was a period of time before Michael Cohen flipped on Donald Trump and began telling the truth. And so he's sort of this interesting witness, a lawyer himself, who was right there in the middle of the courtroom facing the ire of Judge Merchan. He will, we should note, Robert Costello, take the stand again this morning to continue answering more questions, Christine.
You know, Danny, should Trump's team be worried about this admonishment from the judge to this defense witness, especially considering he might be one of the few people they call?
Yes, they should, because they may not have had to call him in the first place. The defense has no burden. They don't have to prove anything. And when they start calling witnesses, it doesn't mean that the burden shifts. But spiritually, it kind of does shift. When you're the defense, unless you really need to get at some points, you don't put on a case, generally speaking. I, for example, often do not put on any case at all. I rest after the prosecution rests. And the reason for doing that is that it keeps a clean record where you can say, look, this was all their show, the prosecution, right, and they failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Now you may have this sort of awkward calling of one witness that could be a flaming disaster, and it's the last thing the jury hears, which is this is who the defense thought we needed to hear from. And that may not be a good look for the defense.
Danny, the prosecution's star witness is Michael Cohen, of course. And yesterday on the stand, he admitted that he stole from the Trump organization. Does that damage the credibility, further damage the credibility of this witness? That's what the defense has been trying to do, to really damage Michael Cohen.
I thought that was a significant moment, and here's why. A lot of folks might think, well, hey, Michael Cohen already had credibility problems. He was already a convicted criminal. What's the big deal? So he stole more money. But it's inconsistent with the prosecution's theme, which is that Michael Cohen is this tragic, bumbling figure whose only sins were at the direction of the man he idolized and wrongly idolized. Now you see a different Michael Cohen. And admittedly, this came out before, but now that it's highlighted, the idea that Michael Cohen maybe isn't just some guy with misguided loyalty to Trump. He stole from Trump. He may have been just an opportunistic thief, and that the jury may really take to heart. But let's take a step back. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to cooperating witnesses, Michael Cohen is hardly the worst cooperating witness, the worst character that you've seen. These are usually killers, people who have guns, drugs, all other kinds of criminal history, and Michael Cohen is hardly the worst of them.
Vaughn, the prosecution clashed with the defense over a photo they wanted to admit into evidence. What's the significance of this photo, and why did the prosecution think it's important to admit into evidence at this late stage in the trial?
Right, Christine, it's a photo from the night of October 24th, 2016. This was just 2 days before the wire transfer was initiated from Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels. And on that night, Michael Cohen had testified last week that he had a phone call with Keith Schiller, the bodyguard to Donald Trump, and that Keith Schiller put Donald Trump on the phone. And it was on that call, one of many instances in which Trump articulated to him that he wanted the payment to Stormy Daniels to go through. Well, under cross-examination, the defense team for Donald Trump called into question the events of that night and why Michael Cohen was trying to get a hold of Keith Schiller. They showed him text messages that suggested the two were texting about a 14-year-old who had been prank calling Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen wanting help from the bodyguard, Keith Schiller. And that is where this photo came out from a C-SPAN video that showed at 7:58 p.m. the night of October 24th is when Donald Trump was exiting a campaign rally stage in Tampa Bay, Florida. And you see Keith Schiller standing next to him. The prosecution suggesting that this would make sense, that Keith Schiller and Donald Trump were together because that phone call that is in question took place just 6 minutes after that photo, that screenshot took place, suggesting the two men were actually together. This was important for the prosecution to try to clean up the testimony of Michael Cohen and paint a picture for this jury that suggests that he very well could have been on that phone call with Donald Trump, because look, here they were together a mere 6 minutes before that phone call.
Fascinating. All right, Vaughn, Danny, thank you so much. All right, this morning, 5 days of national mourning have begun in Iran for President Ebrahim Raisi, who died along with the foreign minister and several other Iranian officials in a helicopter crash on Sunday. Thousands of mourners gathered in northwestern Iran to witness the funeral procession for the divisive leader. NBC's chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the latest.
Good morning. Well, we are seeing incredibly impactful images from the city of Tabriz in Iran. That is the city that is closest to the place where the crash happened. Huge numbers of Iranians on the streets holding pictures of the late president and reaching out to try and touch the coffin of Ebrahim Raisi and the other officials who were killed in that helicopter crash. The coffin's on board a truck, slow moving through the crowds. That's just the beginning of the funeral, which will be held tomorrow in Tehran. The bodies move tonight. And then for President Raisi going on to his home city, his hometown, to end this long, many days of mourning. And at the same time, what you're not seeing in those pictures are the critics of the Iranian regime for arresting and executing dissidents, for arresting journalists, for crushing dissent and protests, including just 2 years ago, those protests in favor of women's rights. Those people's voices are being heard in small celebrations outside of Iranian embassies around the world, and heard in the words of the US State Department sending condolences, but at the same time also saying that those condolences go to the Iranian people and support for those who fight for freedom in Iran. So something of a split screen. We have seen messages of condolence from Gulf nations here, for example. That suggests that potentially there's room for diplomacy. Also heard from the US that Iran reached out for help in the early hours after the crash. At the same time, hearing from the Kremlin that President Putin spoke to the new president, who they are emphasizing he has met many times. That will not be welcome in Washington.
All right, Keir, thank you so much for that. And now to the latest on the war in Gaza. Top Israeli and Hamas leaders are fiercely rejecting accusations of war crimes from the world's top criminal court. Yesterday, the International Criminal Court in The Hague announced it is seeking arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Hamas leaders, and others for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. NBC News International correspondent Ralph Sanchez is in Tel Aviv with the latest.
What a travesty of justice. What a disgrace.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denouncing the International Criminal Court after its prosecutor accused him of war crimes in Gaza and called for a global warrant for his arrest. The prosecutor also seeking to arrest Israel's defense minister and the three top leaders of Hamas's military and political wings. Israel accused of deliberately starving civilians in Gaza by choking off food supplies. Prosecutor Karim Khan also says Israel intentionally targeted civilians.
These crimes were committed in the context of the ongoing armed conflict and as part of a widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population of Gaza.
Netanyahu denying the charges.
Mr. Khan creates a twisted and false moral equivalence between the leaders of Israel and the henchmen of Hamas. This is like creating a moral equivalence after September 11th between President Bush and Osama bin Laden.
President Biden calling the prosecutor's move outrageous.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders.
Hamas accused of atrocities during the October 7th terror attack and beyond. Allegations including murder, rape, torture, and hostage-taking.
Hostages must be released immediately.
Hamas denies committing war crimes as the wheels of international justice begin to turn.
If ICC judges approve the warrants, Netanyahu could face arrest in any nation that's party to the court, including most of Europe. Back to you.
All right, Ralph Sanchez, thank you so much. Let's talk more about this with Hagar Shamali. She's the former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon and the host of Oh My World on YouTube. Hagar, thank you for being here this morning. Good morning. So this ICC request for an arrest warrant for Israel's prime minister and defense minister, it's seen as really a watershed moment here. There have been people who've been calling for this for years, really, to hold allies of the West accountable. They say it's overdue. And a leading Israeli human rights organization said this: the era of impunity for Israeli decision makers is over. How damaging is this for Israel?
Well, it goes two ways. On one hand, any kind of statement of this kind, any kind of action from the International Criminal Court is typically deemed quite serious. It's not something to poo-poo. I mean, this is something when I was in the U.S. government, even if the U.S. is not a party to the International Criminal Court, we are not a member of it. Israel's not a member of it, by the way, either. So even though whatever comes out of the court doesn't hold legal precedent here or legal weight here, we still used to work with the International Criminal Court to get, things worked against President Putin and President Assad of Syria, for example. So it is something very serious. That said, it's not going to carry much weight inside Israel if they are not a member. It means that anything, if they issue an arrest warrant, they're not going to recognize that, and they're not going to arrest Netanyahu. However, that does mean that the defense minister and the prime minister are not going to be able to travel, as Ralph mentioned, to all these countries that are a member. There are 125 countries that are a member of the International Criminal Court.
Does it affect any kind of negotiations for ceasefire, for returning of hostages? Does it have any effect on that at all, you think?
Well, Secretary Blinken said it would. I'm not sure I see that as much. I think I see that it's very clear that the Israeli government is upset about this. When we had rumors of it beforehand, Netanyahu was trying to plead with the U.S. government to try and do something. I don't believe that's something the U.S. government could try to stop in its tracks. Yes, we've seen now Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill say that they want to sanction the International Criminal Court and its leaders. It's an odd use of sanctions. As someone I can tell you, worked in sanctions a long time, but it's not going to change their process or their mechanism of their behavior. But that said, I don't see it's only going to upset them. the talks on the ceasefire, as it is, are very difficult and tenuous. I don't think that this is going to be the thing that messes them up.
You mentioned Presidents Putin and Assad. Is there a risk here that the U.S. and President Biden denounced this ICC call? So is there, does the U.S. look like it's talking out of both sides of its mouth here?
Well, the thing on the U.S. side, I understand where the U.S. is coming from, because the tradition at the ICC is that they don't tend to pursue these types of moves against countries that have democratic processes where they can hold individuals accountable for whatever the situation is, whether it's atrocities or war crimes and such. And so it breaks that tradition on one hand. And that's something the U.S. government, under every administration, has been very against when the ICC has pursued moves of that kind. But I do agree that the equivalence with Hamas, the timing of it to do both of them, is odd in my view when you look at the history and pattern of the ICC and the moves they've taken and those that they have not taken. For example, they did not pursue anything against Saudi Arabia for the significant humanitarian crisis it caused in Yemen. And so when you see this one, you start to question, well, why the equivalence? And so I understand where the U.S. administration is coming from on that.
Let's turn now to Iran, which is holding a funeral and days of mourning here for its president, who died in a helicopter crash here, and the State Department issuing condolences. I'm wondering what you think is going on behind the scenes here between the U.S. and Iran and that relationship, and what kind of conversations are happening at the highest levels in the U.S. about this.
Yeah, I didn't love the condolences. I'm not going to lie to you, but having been on the other side, I understand protocol. I understand protocol. I find Iran to be a bit separate because we have basically labeled their government as a sponsor of terrorism. We have labeled their government as a sponsor of terrorism, and therefore most of their leaders as specially designated terrorists. And so I thought that it might have gone a little far in my view, because what it shows is that, as with all diplomacy includes dealing with unsavory characters. Understood. But there is a difference when you're talking about a government that you've labeled as terrorist. And to me, it felt like it was keeping a little bit of a cracked window, either for future negotiations or to communicate to the Iranian people who aren't expressing joy and relief at his death.
Exactly. All right. And so nice to see you, Hagar Shamali. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, tens of thousands of people in Texas remain without power this morning, days after powerful storms caused widespread damage and brought down power lines. An eighth person in the Houston area has died as a result of the storms. That's according to the city's fire department. More severe weather is in the forecast today across the U.S. High temperatures and rising heat indexes expected. Meteorologist Angie Lassman will have the details in a moment. But first, NBC News correspondent Kathy Park joins us from Houston with the latest. Kathy, good morning. What are you seeing on the ground? The latest on the ground is as so many people are in the dark this morning.
Hey, Christine, good morning to you. That's absolutely right. The damage, as you can see behind me, is quite expansive. In this one particular neighborhood, the debris really is piling up. The city of Houston, they've done a really good job kind of getting everything back in order, but homeowners, they still have a lot of work ahead. At last check, roughly 150,000 customers are still without power. CenterPoint Energy, which is a major power company here in Houston, they say that the goal is to get a substantial number of customers restored by Wednesday. As of last night, they had about 750,000 people back online, but they still have tens of thousands to go. But you mentioned the heat, the humidity. It's going to be hot here in Houston. It's going to be in the 90s today. It will stay in the 90s pretty much every day for the entirety of the week. So it's going to be a stifling weather pattern, and they're going to be dealing with a lot of this for the next couple of days. And homeowners, they're going to be challenged with, no power, no AC. So that is something that the power company is trying to do quickly, to work quickly at an urgent pace to kind of get everyone back online.
I know that the heat and humidity in the Houston area are expected to continue today. What are some of the challenges for crews as this cleanup continues and the utilities are trying to get the lights and the air conditioning back on?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, Christine, is just kind of maneuvering through all the debris that is piling up. They said that they're working with some really difficult working conditions because you see a lot of these tree limbs are still kind of blocking some of these homes, also roadways as well. So they're working with thousands of mutual assistance workers to kind of cut through the vegetation so that the utility crews can kind of stay on track.
And how's the city of Houston helping out people in need today?
So as quickly as they realize that it's going to be extremely hot and dangerous, cooling centers were opened up throughout the city of Houston. Also, emergency food distribution centers were opened up as well. In fact, our colleague Priscilla Thompson was at a location yesterday, and she was speaking to one of the organizers, and she told her that, the essential supplies, the food, the ice, the water, they actually ran out in a matter of hours. So the demand is there as people continue to kind of swelter in this heat with no power and no AC.
All right, Kathy Park, thank you so much. The threat continues as millions are under severe weather alerts in the Midwest this morning. Meteorologist Angie Lastman is tracking everything for us. Good morning, Angie.
Good morning, Christine. You're exactly right. No rest for the weary. More severe storm potential today across a good chunk of the country, specifically the Midwest. And we've already ramped things up this morning with some of these lines of thunderstorms prompting these severe thunderstorm watches, severe thunderstorm warnings earlier this morning. We saw tornado watches already issued, and we'll likely see more where that came from here as the day goes on. You can see the heavy rain that we're also tracking with this, and all of those impacts are going to be on the table from now through the rest of our day, and then we'll kind of have a repeat performance in a different area of the country as we get into tomorrow. So let's time all that out for you. Here's today into tonight. Notice that really strong line of thunderstorms. This is going to work quickly across the Midwest, but we do have that moderate risk. So the higher risk that we're watching is going to be centered across Iowa, stretching into Illinois, into Missouri, and into parts of Wisconsin. But that doesn't mean that elsewhere, from basically Michigan down south and out towards Nebraska, that we couldn't see some of these stronger storms. But the greatest chance is going to be places like Des Moines, Davenport, and Kirksville. Those wind gusts upwards of 90 miles per hour are possible. We'll see hail upwards of 2 inches in diameter, and we'll also see the chance for a couple of strong tornadoes. We're talking EF2 or higher. That same bullseye area that I mentioned, Des Moines, Davenport, and Kirksville, all included in that. But if you live in Green Bay, Chicago, stretching down to Springfield, out towards Omaha, Minneapolis, all of those locations have the potential to see some of these strong storms and tornadoes. So all of those impacts are going to be on the table. And tomorrow, remember I said we have a different section of the country. That's going to be Texas to Ohio that sees, again, a potential for some severe storms. All of the impacts are going to be on the table, along with the potential to see some really heavy rainfall. And because of that, the flood alerts are already up. 8 million people included in this. You can see how expansive they are, including major cities of Des Moines, Minneapolis, Omaha, all of those locations expecting to get really a good dose of rain over the next couple of days. Today's flash flood risk centered from Duluth, Minneapolis, and down towards Waterloo, Chicago, and Green Bay included in that as well. So watch for that here as we gear up for another 1 to maybe 3 inches in some spots. I think widespread amounts. The farther south you go to the areas that we're going to be watching tomorrow to have some impacts as far as severe weather, that's where we'll see the higher amounts of rainfall accumulation. So 1 to 3 inches, Christine, potentially higher than that. So really, all of this is on the table, and we know how warm it is in these areas as well. So just a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, no rest for the weary. You
said
it at the top, and it remains. Thank you so much, Angie. Still ahead on Morning News Now, pressure to post why the first generation to grow up on social media says they're feeling pushed into responding to world events on their feeds, and how that is actually affecting their anxiety. But first, a failed coup in the Democratic Republic of the Congo with several Americans accused of being involved, what we've learned about their arrests and the attempted takeover. We're back now with new details about a failed coup in the Democratic Republic of Congo over the weekend. The leader of this attempted takeover was killed in a shootout, and his American-born son appears to have been arrested. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber has the latest.
At least 6 people are dead and 50 detained after the military of the Democratic Republic of the Congo says it foiled a coup attempt. Video of the attack inside the presidential palace, verified by Reuters, was live streamed on Facebook early Sunday morning by the alleged leader of the failed coup, Christian Malanga. Malanga at one point standing next to a man that appears to be his American-born son, Marcel, an American flag visible on the younger Malanga's chest. The older Malanga said the Congolese military is tired of the president, a president Malanga said has messed up the country and must leave office. The president did not leave office. Within hours, Christian Malanga was dead, killed during a shootout with presidential palace guards, according to a spokesperson with the Congolese army.
Cette tentative
They say 2 guards at the presidential palace and 3 other assailants were also killed. The Congolese military says the coup attempt involved 3 Americans, including one they identified as Malanga's son, Marcel, who, according to the AP, appears to be in this video being circulated online by the presidential palace. More footage circulated by the presidential palace shows several unidentified Congolese men being rounded up by soldiers.
It was a very bizarre attempt to take power. It's not clear what the objective was. It also indicates that the security services, the intelligence services were very poorly organized. After all, they were able to attack and briefly control the presidential palace.
The U.S. Embassy issued a security alert on Sunday, and the American ambassador to DRC said in part, quote, "We will cooperate with the DRC authorities to the fullest extent as they investigate these criminal acts and hold accountable any U.S. citizen involved in criminal acts." The attempted coup is another black eye for the Congolese government. President Felix Tshisekedi was re-elected for a second term back in December, but opposition parties called the results a sham and demanded a rerun. The government dismissed allegations of fraud and ultimately rejected calls for a rerun of the elections.
Our thanks to Ellison Barber for that report. More international news. World leaders are expected to adopt a new agreement for artificial intelligence at a virtual summit this morning. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Christine. That's right. It's called the AI Seoul Summit, and it is a follow-up of that Artificial Intelligence Safety Summit that took place in the UK back in November. Now, this 2-day virtual meeting is being co-hosted by South Korea and the UK. World leaders are expected to talk about some of the risks and potentially adopt a new agreement. This comes as major companies like Google and Meta roll out their own spin on this new technology. And speaking of the UK, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak landed in Vienna this morning. He's set to meet with the Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer for talks about illegal immigration. This comes right after the UK government announced plans just yesterday to give about 25 million euros, which is more than $27 million, to the National Crime Agency to tackle smuggling gangs. Now, Prime Minister Sunak is also expected to use this meeting to promote his controversial deportation scheme to send migrants from the UK to Rwanda. And finally, we end our tour of the world catching some waves puppy style. Christine, I'm not sure if you remember that catchy tune, Who Let the Dogs Out? Well, this time it's more like Who Let the Dogs Surf? Dozens of furry companions shredded waves like true professionals, did you get that? In northern Spain for the annual European Dog Surfing Championship. Now the surfing pups wag their way into the front of their companions' board to, as some of you Americans say, hang 10. Now there's also a serious spin on this story. The competition is actually meant to promote dog adoption, Christine.
Adorable. Adorable. Okay, and your puns were lovely. Thank you, Claudio. Nice to see you. Coming up, they were meant to help identify fentanyl, but federal investigators say test strips used to detect this deadly drug may not tell the whole story. The new warning next. We are back now with a renewed warning from federal investigators about the dangers of fentanyl and the use of fentanyl testing strips. NBC News Now anchor Vicki Nguyen explains why officials fear the testing strips could be giving illicit drug users a false sense of security.
Search illicit drugs on social media and messaging apps, and you'll see dealers claiming their drugs have been tested for fentanyl.
Should users trust that?
Absolutely not.
Detective Patrick Craven helps lead the newly formed Placer County Opioid Response Team. His investigation into the 2022 fatal fentanyl poisoning of 15-year-old Jules Wolfe led to California's first murder conviction of a drug dealer for providing fentanyl-laced pills.
Nathaniel Kabakungan put out there that his pills did not contain fentanyl, and that was not the case.
Regina Chavez believes her daughter Jules' death was an accidental overdose. Kabakungan, who advertised his pills were tested and free of fentanyl, gave Jules a counterfeit Percocet.
What do you want parents to know about these test strips?
I want parents to be concerned because these test strips are providing a false sense of security.
While test strips do work, investigators say for accurate results, the entire pill or batch needs to be tested, which police say is not understood or practical for most users.
Is it possible that when you test just a portion of the pill, it could show up as negative for fentanyl while the rest of the pill is positive?
It's very possible.
We purchased 3 types of test strips and asked Detective Craven to show us how they work. Craven tested counterfeit pills from a recent drug seizure. All came back positive for fentanyl.
No pill is processed and made in the same way, and therefore they don't contain even amounts of fentanyl.
The DEA says 70% of the counterfeit pills it tested last year contained a deadly dose of fentanyl. In Los Angeles, accidental overdoses from fentanyl are up more than 1,600%. Nationwide, fentanyl is now the leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. That surge has led many health departments like New York and Chicago to spend millions to provide free fentanyl test strips to users, although there isn't clear data to prove the strips are preventing overdoses. For Jules' mother, Regina, the messaging is clear. Unless you've personally tested the entire pill or batch, don't trust it's fentanyl-free.
My baby is still doing amazing things, even after she's gone, to help save our communities, to help save our children.
Vicki Nguyen, NBC News, Placer County, California.
Important reporting there. Thanks, Vicki. Let's turn now to the pressure Gen Z are facing on social media. New research shows young people feel forced to take a position on tough topics like political issues, which is leading to higher levels of anxiety. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett has more on this.
I think I'm depressed, anxious, ADHD, or a mix of all three, said every person in Gen Z.
Gen Z is the first generation to grow up completely online, and they're starting to feel it.
We had to learn how to grow up in this different world of social media. We didn't have the rules passed down to us, and we're actually making the rules.
Corey Jane is a Gen Z poet who blew up online for her relatable poems about being a Gen Zer.
So I sit and I scroll and I rot on repeat.
Handed us our first phones in middle school. We were raised by them.
You know, so many people in Gen Z have been struggling with the ramifications of social media, you know, like screen addiction and, you know, a imbalance of dopamine when we're dependent on constant stimulation all the time.
50% of Gen Zers spend more than an hour on social media per day, according to research from the McKinsey Health Institute. But it's not just screen addiction, with social movements being born and spread online. I spent the afternoon on campus at University of Colorado Boulder, where people born between 1997 and 2012 told me the ever-increasing, quote, pressure to post about movements like these weighs on them almost every day.
Like there's a whole cancel culture. You get in trouble for like if you don't say anything, and then if you do, and like people don't agree with you, it's like either way, like you can't win.
I feel like the anxiety is coming from people our own age, and like Gen Z's anxiety surrounding social media is triple the levels of people their parents' age.
We're all like, I feel like impacting everyone, like each other's mental health the way that we're getting impacted too. Like it's a vicious cycle.
McKinsey's researchers note a shortage in access to behavioral health providers. Because of that, Gen Zers instead are less likely to seek care. And when they do, they rely on emergency care or turn to more social media, like following therapists on TikTok or Instagram.
If we know that there is going to be some sort of use of social media, how do we find the right way to be making it a supportive experience?
To combat the negatives, experts recommend if you're scrolling, be active on your feed rather than passive to strengthen social bonds. Turn off notifications when you're not on the apps and have a purpose every time you log on rather than just pulling up Instagram when you have a free moment.
A drug in our pocket without instructions on how or when addiction comes to stop it.
For Corey, she's reframed how she views her presence on social media.
Social media itself is neutral. It's like a neutral force, and it's kind of the user that gets to determine if it's going to have a negative or positive impact on themselves. And I think the important thing to realize when you're trying to be like, okay, real life versus social media is that whatever is in front of you, that is what's tangible.
That focused separation, an essential step to regulate mental health and scroll safely. Maura Barrett, NBC News.
All right, staying on your mental health, it's time now for our weekly check-in, starting with some big changes to help athletes at this summer's Olympic Games. Plus, psychedelic travel is booming. We'll get a closer look at some of the highs and lows. Here to help us walk through all of these stories is a psychologist and licensed marriage and family therapist, Dr. George James. Dr. James, good morning. Let's jump right into the Olympics here. The French government taking steps to protect its Olympic athletes, including a place to get help for mental health. The Games, they're also being offered protections from cyberbullying, things like blocking DMs. How does mental health impact performance and safety in sports? And do you think this approach might give French athletes a leg up at this year's Games?
Hey, good morning, Christine. And this is actually something that's really amazing and great. We've seen that athletes from all over the world, and especially around Olympic time, have talked about their mental health and the importance of taking care of their mental health. So being able to have psychologists on set, on site, being able to protect them, being able to help them, because there's such high pressure, such demands that these athletes are experiencing high levels of anxiety and depression. So I think this is actually really great and needed for all countries.
Yeah. Staying on sports here, a study conducted by the Women's Sport Foundation found that rates of mental health disorders are considerably lower for girls who play sports compared to girls who don't play at all. What do parents need to know, particularly if their daughters aren't enthusiastic about sports?
Well, overall, we've seen that just by the numbers that more girls start to stop playing sports at an earlier age than boys. And so it's about encouraging girls to try it, to see if they might like it, because we've seen such differences in levels of anxiety and depression, significantly lower for those who play sports or on teams or connected. And so it might be able to encourage parents to allow their daughters to try it and to see what can happen for them. But most importantly, for them to just have really quality environments when they play sports, as well as a connection to their other teammates. This can be helpful in their overall mental health.
And let's talk about wellness trips. It's astonishing. The market for these wellness trips is expected to reach the $1 trillion mark this year, according to Forbes. And a growing part of this is psychedelic retreats involving things like, you see them there, mushrooms. So why are more people opting to take a trip on a trip, doctor? And what are the risks?
Yeah, I think what most people have recognized is that they want to prioritize their mental health. We've seen people really want to prioritize their health overall, and going to the spa, it doesn't cut it anymore for lots of people. So people have been wanting to find out what are other things they can do, and these psychedelic trips have been very popular, and some people have seen positive results. That doesn't mean it's going to be positive results for everybody, but people have tried and seen it, and they want to have that feeling to be in a better place. Yeah. So people are taking, as you said, the trip on a trip.
Trip on a trip, $1 trillion of tripping trips. All right, Dr. James, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Coming up, death of the lunch rush, why more Americans are skimping during the week and going big on the weekend. That's next. We are back now with some money news this morning, and the head of the FDIC is calling it quits. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us now with that and other money news. Good morning, Silvana.
Hey, Christine, good morning to you. Yeah, the head of the FDIC says he will resign once the banking regulator finds a successor. Martin Grunberg says he is prepared to step down in light of recent events. His announcement comes after a Wall Street Journal investigation detailed allegations of a problematic and sexualized culture at the FDIC. That prompted an independent probe which found a hostile and abusive workplace. Oh boy, here we go. Shrimp may have killed Red Lobster. The restaurant chain filed for bankruptcy late Sunday, and now its new CEO is weighing in on what caused the downfall. He says performance has been deteriorating for years, with customer traffic falling about 30% a year. He blames inflation, with consumers opting to stay in versus eating out. That's led to higher menu prices across the industry. He also points to the now infamous Ultimate Endless Shrimp promotion. He says the previous CEO made it a permanent $20 menu item despite pushback from other executives. And Cheez-It is inviting you to Cheez-In. The popular snack brand is opening a diner in Woodstock, New York. That's about 2 hours drive from Manhattan. Now, it has a retro diner feel and a menu with Cheez-It-infused classics, such as a cracker-crusted grilled cheese sandwich and mac and Cheez-It topped with a cracker crumble. But we have to act fast because it's only open this week from 4 to 9 p.m. today through Thursday and until midnight. Friday and Saturday, Christine. They need to keep it open longer. I can't make it this week.
A brilliant flash marketing campaign, I will say. Silvana Henao, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
The summer travel season just around the corner, and this year many Americans are planning some quality me time by traveling alone. For more on the solo travel trend, let's bring in Jackie Gifford. Jackie is the editor-in-chief of Travel and Leisure magazine. The June issue is out on newsstands right now. Planning for the summer. Good morning, Jackie. You know, most of us have taken trips with family and friends, but what about the biggest benefits of traveling by yourself?
I think the biggest benefit of traveling by yourself is you get to set the agenda, right? It's me time. It's the ultimate form of me time. A few tips, things to know if you're planning a solo trip. First of all, set an itinerary, an agenda. You don't want to go out and just not really have a plan. The other thing is to stay connected. And last but not least, make sure that you try some new things. Look at these beautiful pictures of Sedona, the Red Rocks. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. Sedona, Arizona is really known as a wellness destination. A lot of people go here on solo trips. You were talking about wellness travel earlier, to really reconnect with nature. Places like Cathedral Rock and Bell Rock are amazing for hiking. Portland, Oregon is also an amazing town. I love Portland. You've got the coffee culture, great restaurants, also scenic highways and drives just outside of the city, as well as some beautiful waterfalls and hikes. So Portland is definitely one to check out. The Hoxton Hotel is great. It's under $200 a night. They have rooms that are designed for solo travelers called Snug and Cozy. Again, these are some great tips just for if you're heading out there. Embrace that idea of solo freedom, because you want to, get outside your comfort zone. I think that's the beauty of travel these days. People are really pushing their boundaries and trying new things.
Yeah, you also mentioned Greenport, New York. That is a beautiful, beautiful destination too. What do you like about that?
I love Greenport. It was voted one of America's best small towns by editors of Travel and Leisure. You have the Long Island Sound views, vineyards, wineries, just great, beautiful food too. Oysters, oyster culture. You can go to a place like Contra Costa Winery and just relax for the afternoon. The Sound View Greenport is a great boutique hotel. It's set on 14 private acres. Another destination you might not think of is Dallas for art and culture. They have one of the largest urban arts districts in the country, the Nasher Sculpture Center, and also the Kimpton Pittman Hotel is an affordable boutique hotel. I think a lot of solo travelers are looking for an affordable destination because, they want to spend on more experiences and a great boutique hotel.
Now, talk to me a little bit about safety, because when I think solo traveling, the first thing I think of is, am I going to be safe?
Sure. I think one great tip, again, is stay connected. Leave your itinerary home with family and friends. Make sure they know where you are. Also research the local customs and culture, as well as learn a few phrases in the local language. It just will make you feel more comfortable when you're on the ground. These are all things I do when I go out on a solo trip. And again, make sure you just stay in touch with people throughout your time. And again, really research the area and do your homework before you set out.
And Jackie, here's a kind of a strange question. Like, how do you explain to your friends and family, I want to travel by myself, you're not coming?
Good question. You know what? It's healthy to go out. I say when you can go out to dinner by yourself and sit there and have a glass of wine and read a good book, it's a great way to just reconnect and be present. There's nothing like it. And too few people do this these days. And now we're seeing, in years past, and now we're seeing more people just want to get out and seize the day and not wait to travel with a partner, right? That's a big trend, and especially interesting that solo travel is really rising in women. So I think it's totally healthy to go out on your own.
All right, Jackie Gifford, nice to see you. Thank you so much. Some food for thought. Also food for thought, move over lunch rush. The brunch brigade is here. A new report shows more Americans are choosing not to eat out for lunch during the work week. Instead, they're saving their money to splurge on the weekend, with brunch being a popular meal for diners. Ara Karazian joins me now on set for more on this, the research lead at Square. So nice to see you.
Thank you.
Why are we seeing a dip in lunch spending? I have to imagine this is because we're not working 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, in the office anymore.
Sure. I mean, the first thing I want to clarify is that it's not really that people are spending less money. Americans clearly seem to have a pretty high appetite for restaurant spending. That's been high. That's consistently shown across data sets. What we're seeing instead is a shift in the center of gravity of that money being spent, both in terms of when that money is being spent. Consumers appear to be spending money later and later in the day, but also over to the weekends, and in terms of where in the city that money is being spent. So a shift away from the sort of core downtown of an area over into sort of the broader, larger parts of the city.
What are restaurant owners, fast food chains, restaurants, what are they doing to try to lure people back?
Look, I think restaurants are very comfortable with change. I wouldn't say it's necessarily something that it's been a very difficult couple of years for restaurants. It's been a very transformative decade for restaurants. We've seen a lot of creativity from the restaurants that use Square. We also see consistently when we survey these restaurants that they're actually very optimistic about the year, that they show an increased interest in investing more into their businesses. So I think it's been a very challenging couple years for restaurants, but we also know that the restaurants on our platform are addressing it head on.
What about the brunch craze? I mean, people are really focusing on enjoying their meals on the weekends when it's not even the work week.
Right. I mean, that spending has really shifted over to the weekend. I think that makes sense, right? Like, brunch spending has had a lot of tailwinds in a way that maybe the workday lunch period has had a lot of headwinds, right? A workday lunch period experiencing a lot of declines because of sort of a shift to hybrid work environments. Something like brunch spending instead, people were pretty relieved to start being able to go out, have outdoor dining during the pandemic, but also be able to see people outside of the workday. That was something that I think makes sense from a consumer standpoint. So that change was not very surprising to me.
Just anecdotally, there are people, I know people who will be working from home and they'll come in to go meet people for happy hour. So like, the happy hour is still a draw?
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw about a 0.5% increase in happy hour spending since 2019. We saw a pretty large shift in every other direction, right? And so I think that's a common misconception about happy hours, that it's something that's strongly indexed to office workers, and that's really just not true, right? Most people are able to go to happy hour regardless of whether or not they're in the office. It's actually something that I think most people are excited to do once they log off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. You make the point about the spending. People are still spending money, and they're spending money, for experiences, and eating is definitely an experience. And thank you so much. Nice to see you today.
Thank you so much.
Square. Coming up, the emotional return to a painful chapter in American history, why there's hope. The new National Historic Site will break new ground for a new generation. We end this hour with a closer look at one of the newest National Historic Sites in the U.S. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda takes us to Colorado, where the Japanese incarceration camp Amache has been preserved now after decades of effort from survivors.
This is pretty high brush.
For the first time, Hideko Hamamoto is returning to her birthplace, Amache, a Japanese incarceration camp that held innocent families seen as threats for merely looking like the enemy in World War II.
120,000 Japanese and Japanese Americans within 4 months were put into barracks. I mean, how does that happen?
The foundations of the barracks remain in Grenada, Colorado.
You okay?
Along with fragments of daily life, marbles, tin cans from 80 years before. Photos show a young Hideko playing with a tin can turned toy.
Enduring the unthinkable with dignity.
Now she's walking those grounds again alongside her daughter and granddaughter.
It's a little emotional. They should have been protected by the government, who instead incarcerated them.
I think that being here kind of reminded me of the connection that it has to the present and to who I really am. And it's not just some kind of isolated, separate era.
It's a feeling I share.
My grandfather used to share, he had this vivid memory of a child where he would look through the barbed wire, he would look up at the armed guards as an 8-year-old boy and wonder, why am I here?
For decades, survivors like Bob Fuchigami have pushed for Amache to become a National Historic Site. This year, those efforts were officially realized.
It's one thing to talk about it. It's another to actually be on the grounds, think about being placed there.
Continuing a decades-old tradition, hundreds descended on the site over the weekend to remember those who endured and have since passed.
There was a breeze coming through, and it was almost as if they were saying, well, thank you for being here, and don't let this happen again. It's important to remember.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News, Grenada, Colorado.
All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. Good morning. I'm Christine Romans in for Joe in Savannah. Right now on Morning News Now, grief and uncertainty as Iran begins the 3-day funeral for President Ebrahim Raisi following his sudden death in a helicopter crash. How Raisi's opponents around the world are celebrating the death of a hardliner who was nicknamed the Butcher of Tehran. We have the latest on what it means for the region in turmoil. Back home, more wild weather is plaguing millions across the plains and Midwest this morning as brutal summer-like temperatures scorched the South in the wake of those violent and deadly storms that swept through the region last week. We are watching it all in just a moment. Plus, some big changes are coming to all those pesky prescription drug ads that are seemingly everywhere. The FDA's game-changing new transparency rule that'll add a little clarity to those lists of side effects. And new trouble for ChatGPT this morning as actress Scarlett Johansson goes on the legal offensive against the company behind the booming technology. All for what she says is a striking similarity that's straight out of the movies. We begin this morning with Iran, which has begun several days of mourning for its president, who died along with several other Iranian officials in that helicopter crash on Sunday. Thousands of mourners are gathering to witness the funeral procession of the divisive and controversial leader. NBC's chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, joins us now with the very latest. Keir, tell us what's happening.
Well, as we speak, the coffin of Ebrahim Raisi and the other officials killed in that helicopter crash are going to Coms before then going on to Tehran. But you're right, there were huge crowds on the streets of Tabriz, that city in Iran closest to where the helicopter crash happened. And at the very same time, we're seeing continuing evidence, if it were needed, of the ruthlessness of the Iranian regime. The prosecutor there vowing to clamp down on anyone who criticizes the late president. This morning, Iranians lining the streets for the president's funeral. A series of ceremonies lasting days. Crowds carrying flags and pictures, reaching out to touch the coffins of Ebrahim Raisi and the other officials killed on a slow-moving truck. Beginning in a city close to the scene of the crash, it will move to Tehran tonight, then to a burial at his hometown. Television reporters reaching the wreckage of the helicopter broken apart in fog and mountainous terrain. This Instagram video capturing the moment rescuers arrived at the crash site. Found it, one shouts. Then the grim reality takes hold. They cry out, pray and sob. Before the helicopter was located, the US says Iran reached out for help. A moment of diplomacy amid tense relations between the two nations. The State Department saying ultimately it couldn't help for logistical reasons. But as news of President Raisi's death brought tears in Tehran, there were celebrations outside Iranian embassies in the West. Raisi was a hardliner who crushed women's rights protests 2 years ago.
Some of the worst human rights abuses occurred during his tenure as president, especially the human rights abuses against the women and girls of Iran. That said, we regret any loss of life.
Iran racing to signal stability. Raisi was talked about as a possible successor to the 85-year-old supreme leader. But it is an opaque process. And an advisor to the government reached in Tehran, suggesting to NBC News he was not an official candidate.
Contrary to what some people in the West were saying, he was not any candidate for the position of leader.
He says there will be no change in foreign policy, while a date for new presidential elections has been quickly set, late June. And diplomatically, Gulf states here, including Saudi Arabia, have been sending condolences. That perhaps suggests an attempt to de-escalate from countries that are traditionally adversaries of Iran. At the same time, the Kremlin saying President Putin spoke to the new interim president of Iran almost immediately and emphasized how often they have met. That will not be welcomed in Washington.
Yeah. All right, Keir, thank you so much for that. Now let's turn to the latest in the war in Gaza as the International Criminal Court seeks arrest warrants for top Israeli and Hamas leaders for alleged war crimes. President Biden doubling down on his support for Israel. The president is condemning the ICC and denying Israel's acts in Gaza are equivalent to genocide. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us right now from Tel Aviv. Raf, good morning.
Christine, good morning. Israel had been dreading this announcement from the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court for weeks, but was unable to stop it. And today, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at risk of joining Vladimir Putin in a club of world leaders facing arrest for alleged war crimes. But both Israel and the United States pushing back hard.
The President of the United States.
President Biden emphasizing his support for Israel last night and pushing back on allegations it's committing genocide in Gaza.
And it's clear
Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. What's happening is not genocide. We reject that.
The president also condemning the International Criminal Court after prosecutors announced they're seeking the arrest of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's defense minister on allegations of war crimes in Gaza.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. There is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas.
Prosecutor Karim Khan also seeking the arrest of Yahya Sinwar, the alleged mastermind of the October 7th attack, and 2 other Hamas leaders, outlining charges including murder, rape, torture, and hostage-taking. Hamas condemning the court in response.
Hostages must be released immediately.
The charges against Israel include deliberately starving the people of Gaza by choking off food supplies and intentionally targeting civilians.
These crimes were committed in the context of the ongoing armed conflict and as part of a widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population of Gaza.
Netanyahu calling the allegations
creates a twisted and false moral equivalence between the leaders of Israel and the henchmen of Hamas. This is like creating a moral equivalence after September 11th between President Bush and Osama bin Laden.
The war in Gaza now raging under the shadow of the court.
Now, Republican senators, including Lindsey Graham, threatening to bring sanctions against both the prosecutor and the court in response to those charges against Israel. In terms of the legal process, it is now up to judges at the ICC to decide whether to actually issue those arrest warrants. If they do, Netanyahu could, in theory, face arrest in any nation that is signed up to the court, and that includes most of Europe. Christine.
All right, Ralph Sanchez, thank you for that reporting. Back here in New York, Donald Trump's hush money trial is set to resume after a dramatic day in court Tuesday. Judge Juan Merchan clearing out the courtroom to issue a stern warning to a key defense witness. Today could be the last day for testimony, but it looks like the trial won't wrap up until after the long holiday weekend, with closing arguments now set for May 28th. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the details.
Hey there, good morning. Bob Costello was never on anyone's witness list. He's a tangential player in this case at best, but his testimony is significant enough that the prosecution fought hard to keep it out, and his whole attitude on the stand could have the defense team rethinking its strategy of calling him at all.
This morning, more testimony from the witness the judge nearly kicked off the stand. Robert Costello called by the defense to rebut the testimony of key prosecution witness Michael Cohen. Costello describing how he briefly advised a panic-stricken Cohen after the FBI raided his home and office in 2018, saying he told Donald Trump's former fixer to come clean with prosecutors, but testified that Cohen told him, "I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump." A line that runs directly contrary to Cohen's testimony at this trial, that Mr. Trump directed Cohen to pay off a porn star ahead of the 2016 election to protect his campaign, and then created a phony paper trail to cover it all up, which the former president denies.
We did nothing wrong, and I want to get back to campaigning. I'm representing millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people.
But it was Costello's demeanor, audibly muttering as the judge sustained numerous objections to his testimony, that led to an explosive courtroom confrontation. Judge Juan Merchan sending the jury out of the room, telling Costello, "You don't give me side-eye." Things only escalating from there, the judge saying, quote, "Are you staring me down right now?" Ordering the courtroom cleared, reporters led out into the hallway. Cohen told jurors he never trusted Costello and didn't give him the full story at the time. But on cross-exam, Cohen was forced to acknowledge he stole tens of thousands of dollars from the Trump organization by seeking reimbursement for more than he was owed at one point. Outside court, this video shared on Mr. Trump's social media account drawing attention.
What happens after Donald Trump wins?
The 30-second clip still up this morning, using a term associated with Germany's Nazi government, referring to the creation of a unified Reich among fictionalized newspaper headlines covering a Trump victory in November.
When asked about the post online, the Trump campaign said, quote, "This is not a campaign video. It was created by a random account online and reposted by a staffer who clearly did not see that word while the president was in court." Meanwhile, back in New York, the defense moved to dismiss this entire case, arguing Mr. Cohen's testimony about Mr. Trump cannot be believed. But the judge didn't seem inclined to take it out of the jury's hands right now, saying, quote, "You think he's going to fool 12 New Yorkers?" Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella for more on this. Okay, so Angela, Robert Costello could very well be the defense's last witness, we know. The only other witness was this paralegal who worked for Trump attorney Todd Blanche. Are 2 witnesses enough here for the defense?
Well, look, it's even defenses don't even have to put up any defense whatsoever. So putting up anybody is a statement. Now, I think Bob Costello, even though there was this extremely contentious exchange, was very effective for the defense because we have Cohen here who obviously has all these credibility issues, which we've talked about extensively. Now, Cohen is this disbarred attorney who is now incredibly disgraced and proven to be a liar. Now, we have Costello who was contentious on the stand, but he was a former U.S. attorney. He was formerly this massive prosecutor, on top of which he remains to be a barred attorney, and he is on the stand directly contradicting the one thing that Cohen said that could really put Trump in the middle of all of this, which is that Trump was involved, that Trump knew what was happening. And we have Costello here who is saying Trump didn't know what was happening, at least according to Cohen, and Cohen's the only one who right now can tie Trump to all of this. So this case is extremely messy, but all the defense has to do is poke holes in the prosecution. And given the number of holes there are already, I think it's moving in the defense's favor, Christine.
I think to say this case is messy is an understatement at this point. All right, so Trump's lawyers asked the judge to dismiss this case, has done several times. What are they arguing here, and is it likely at all?
So it's not likely. Oftentimes, a lot of these motions that are brought up for procedure and are brought up as the course of nature, but it's not really expected that it'll go anywhere. In this case, it's a motion to move to dismiss for a directed verdict based on the fact that Cohen really was totally uncredible on that stand, and that nothing he said was backed up or corroborated by any additional evidence. Now, again, though, evidence that is on the stand like that, when it's in the form of a witness testimony, is something that the credibility is supposed to be decided by the jury itself. So that's what the judge is likely moving towards. So likely this case will not be dismissed yet, Christine.
This case has been moving on at a pretty decent clip here. Now we've learned that the closing arguments and the jury deliberations won't begin until after the long holiday. Does that help or hurt either side to have a kind of press the pause button here?
You know, I don't think in this case it necessarily will help either side. We do know there will be this battle over the jury instructions because this is something that has really never been tried before. But I think it really also depends on how carefully these members of the jury go home and they don't talk to friends, that they don't listen to the press, that they don't engage, because those will be their instructions over the long weekend. But I think, you know, you never really know if jurors are going to be doing that or following along.
Yeah, and do their friends and family even know they're on this case? I mean, it could be coming up around them without them even seeking out information about this case.
That's true, but I think their immediate family will always know. It's just a question of how good of a secret they're all keeping.
Exactly. All right, Angela, nice to see you. Thank you so much. All right, millions of people across the U.S. could be facing another round of severe weather today. That includes Texas, with another day of hot temperatures expected. Cleanup efforts are ongoing in the state after powerful storms last week knocked out power to tens of thousands of people. At least 8 people in the Houston area have died. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park joins us now from Houston with the latest. Good morning again, Kathy. With another hot and humid day on tap, how difficult has it been for people living in and around Houston these past few days?
Hey, Christine, good morning to you. Yeah, it kind of depends on who you ask. Some people are taking it in stride, but I would say the majority of people, they're entering day 5 without power and AC, so they're growing more and more frustrated. At last check, there's roughly 150,000 customers still in the dark this morning. CenterPoint Energy, which is a major power company here in Houston, says the goal is to have a substantial number of customers restored by Wednesday. As of last night, they said they had about 750,000 customers back online. So they are making progress, but you mentioned, you know, it's getting extremely hot here in Houston. It's going to be 90 degrees today. It will stay that way pretty much every day this week. And when you factor in the humidity, it will feel like 100 degrees. So a lot of folks are going to be struggling for the next couple of days. And then, as you can still see behind me, a big cleanup ahead, Christine.
Yeah, and as we've mentioned, you know, an 8th person is confirmed to have died as a result of these storms. What can you tell us about the victim, Kathy?
So Houston officials are saying that this 8th individual died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And ever since Thursday's storm, they're saying roughly 80 people or 80 reports of carbon monoxide poisoning have been reported to law enforcement. And that is another reminder that carbon monoxide, it is a silent killer, especially with generators running right now. I can hear a lot of them in this community. So a warning for people living in Houston: if you don't have power and you do have a generator, do power them up safely.
Absolutely. Explain to us some of the services being offered to help people impacted by the severe weather, and how can they get that help?
Yeah, so as quickly as they realized that the temperature was going to climb here in Houston, the city also opened up cooling centers. There are food distribution sites as well. The Red Cross also opening up shelters as well. You're probably looking at some video from yesterday, and we're told from one of the organizers that they are in high demand. The food, the water, the ice, it is running out very quickly. It ran out yesterday in a matter of hours. The demand is high, as you can imagine, because a lot of folks don't have power still, so they're tossing out all of their food, and they're going to have to turn to these resources over the next couple of days.
All right, Kathy, thank you so much. A lot of work there and a lot of heat there. All right, now let's get to meteorologist Angie Lastman for your morning news now. Weather. Good morning, Angie.
Good morning, Christine. And once again, we are ramping things up for another afternoon and already a morning of some strong storms possible. You can see the thunderstorm watch that's in effect until 1 p.m. expanding across parts of the Midwest, and just a whole lot of rain, some thunder, some lightning that people are dealing with as they get out the door this morning. We're going to see things kind of increase in intensity as the day goes on and as this system quickly works across the Midwest. You can see this line of thunderstorms that we're expecting. This is a pause at 8 p.m. So this is going to go into the evening hours. After dark, we'll still be watching for the impacts from this, and likely to see all of these impacts on the table. That means the hail, the strong winds up to 90 miles per hour, and the potential for a couple of strong tornadoes. Specifically, if you live in the Des Moines area, Davenport, Kirksville, that's where we have the greatest chance to see some of this. But it is quite expansive elsewhere across the Midwest, parts of Michigan, Illinois, as far south as Springfield included in this, Kansas City, Omaha, all of this on the table for us to deal with here as we get into the afternoon hours and evening hours tonight. EF2 tornadoes or higher are possible across that same region that I mentioned. But again, all of those impacts are going to be something we'll have to watch for across this region here as we get through the day today. And tomorrow, we're not done with the severe weather. It's spring after all. So from Texas to Ohio, we'll see once again all of those impacts on the table. It'll be something to note, on top of the fact that we have heavy rain likely to fall across this region. There's 8 million people already under these flood alerts right now. You can see some flash flood warnings across Iowa and Nebraska, Des Moines and Omaha included in those. But the flood watches extend as far north as northern Minnesota, and parts of Nebraska are also included in that. This is going to be something that we watch to potentially prompt flash flooding across this region through the day today. So Minneapolis to Waterloo, Duluth, all included in this, but Chicago, Green Bay, and Sioux City included as well. Not quite as high of a chance of that. Now, moving into tomorrow, the severe risk is going to be, as I mentioned, from Texas to Ohio, and that's where we see the center of the heaviest of rain that we'll see through Thursday as well. Notice where those higher amounts are coming in, 1 to 3 inches. We could see isolated amounts higher than that. This will be something that we'll have to deal with through the next couple of days as this system continues to march to the east, Christine.
I just keep looking at the middle of the country, and it's just every day there's a new threat.
No break. I mean, you know, and we talked about the heat in Texas. That's not going to let up. Yep. So a lot to watch for weather-wise.
Here we go. All right. Nice to see you, Angie. Thank you. All right. The EPA is sounding the alarm this morning when it comes to the safety of our drinking water. The agency has issued an alert warning that cyber attacks against water utilities are becoming more frequent and serious. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with more on this. Ryan, good morning. What can you tell us about these growing threats across the country? What are some of the concerns here?
Yeah, Christine, it's really a remarkable report by the Environmental Protection Agency. They believe that 70% of the nation's water supplies fall short of the standards they believe necessary in order to protect the water that we drink every single day. And their biggest concern is that these water systems could be subject to cyber attacks from foreign entities that basically want to mess with the water that we drink every single day. And we're seeing this happen more and more, especially with water systems that are connected to small towns towns that don't have the layers of protection that some of the bigger cities might have, and makes it easier for some of these actors to try and get in and mess with the systems. In one town, Muleshoe, Texas, for instance, they were able to release thousands of gallons of water basically just into the streets, forcing the water system to be shut down for several hours until they could rectify the problem. Another small town reported as many as 30,000 cyber attacks in just 4 days. They were able to hold off those attacks, but it did force them to basically unplug from the system so that they could rectify this situation. So it's a growing threat, and one the EPA is warning that many of these small towns and bigger cities need to do more to protect their systems. Christine.
Ryan, do we know who's behind these attacks? I mean, are these like ransomware attacks to try to get money from these towns, or are these malevolent foreign actors who are trying to show, hey, we can do this?
Yeah, right now the EPA believes it is the latter, Christine. They're talking about some of the biggest adversaries that the U.S. is dealing with on a number of fronts. China, Iran, Russia. These are groups that aren't necessarily looking for some sort of financial reward for messing with these water systems, but instead are looking to cause chaos and wreak havoc on everyday lives of American citizens. And, you know, it shows just how vulnerable the system is. And, of course, water, one of the most important resources that Americans rely on every day. If they have the ability to get in and cause problems with these water systems, it could be a big problem for everyday Americans.
You know, should people be concerned about their drinking water? And I guess what kind of precautions can people take at home?
There isn't really too much that the average American can do, Christine. And this isn't necessarily about the safety of the drinking water. It's not as though poisons or toxins are being put into the water. There is the possibility that a cyber attack could stand in the way of some of the filtration systems and make the system not quite as reliable. But at this point, this is really the responsibility of these local governments and utility companies to get on top of to prevent what could happen down the road from becoming a big problem. But in terms of the water that you drink every single morning, there isn't much you can do, and there isn't an imminent threat. This is more about the EPA sounding the alarm bells to these local systems to get their act in order.
Important context. Ryan, nice to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much more to come on this hour of morning news now, including some welcome news for your wallet this morning. Target announcing it's slashing prices on thousands of popular items. So what's behind the change, and where can you snag the best deals? But first, Amal Clooney back in the global spotlight. This morning, her role in the new push to arrest top Israeli and Hamas leaders for war crimes. Those stories and more next. Welcome back. As we've reported, the world's highest criminal court is seeking to arrest top Israeli and Hamas leaders, including Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the leader of Hamas, both for their alleged war crimes. The panel of experts surveying the case actually includes Amal Clooney, who was handpicked by the court more than 4 months ago. NBC international correspondent Kelly Kobiea joins us now from London. Kelly, good morning.
Christine, good morning to you. Yes, we know that Amal Clooney is married to Hollywood A-lister George Clooney, but she is also a highly respected international human rights lawyer. And she revealed on Monday that she is a member of this expert panel, which signed off on the prosecutor's decision to bring war crimes charges against Netanyahu and top Hamas leaders. President Biden calling the decision to bring charges against top Israeli leaders outrageous. Amal Clooney in the spotlight again, not for her marriage to George Clooney or her glamorous red carpet style, but for her role as a legal advisor to the International Criminal Court in the Netherlands. The ICC's chief prosecutor requesting arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's defense minister, and 3 senior Hamas leaders for alleged war crimes. Amal Clooney writing, "The law that protects civilians in war was developed more than 100 years ago, and it applies in every country in the world, regardless of the reason for a conflict." Adding, "I will never accept that one child's life has less value than another's." This is just the latest high-profile legal case for Clooney, who is a barrister and member of a well-respected British law firm. She once represented WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in his fight to avoid extradition to Sweden on sex crime charges. More recently, she called on the UN and US to do more to stop reported war crimes in Ukraine.
Ukraine is today a slaughterhouse, right in the heart of Europe.
She has also investigated atrocities in Syria, Darfur, and Iraq. sitting down with NBC in 2016 to explain what drives her.
I believe in international justice. I believe it's important that you don't just turn the page without people being held to account.
The gravity of her day job in contrast to her leading man husband, prompting a memorable moment at the 2015 Golden Globes.
Amal is a human rights lawyer who worked on the Enron case, was an advisor to Kofi Annan regarding Syria, and was selected for a 3-person UN commission investigating rules of war violations in the Gaza Strip. So tonight, her husband is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award.
The 46-year-old mother of 6-year-old twins rarely gives interviews, preferring to focus on her work and her young children. She made an exception in 2018 when George was honored by the American Film Institute.
What I have found with you is the great love that I always hoped existed.
One of the world's most glamorous women, now taking a strong stance on the conflict in the Middle East.
And this is a controversial and highly divisive issue. But Amal Clooney has been criticized quite a bit for months now for not weighing in on this conflict. This now gives her a chance to weigh in publicly through her work. She said she's not going to give a running commentary on that work. But she did say in that statement, Christine, that I do not accept that any conflict should be beyond the reach of the law. Christine.
All right, Kelly Colbier, thank you so much for that. Now to a developing story this morning. At least one person is dead after a flight hit severe turbulence on its way from London to Singapore. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other world news. Good morning, Claudio.
Good morning, Christine. That's right. Singapore Airlines says that at least one person has died and several others were injured. Now, according to the airline, the plane originally heading from London to Singapore hit severe turbulence. Some passengers reportedly claim they were even launched into the ceiling. The flight was eventually diverted to Thailand's capital, Bangkok. In a statement, the airline offered their deepest condolences. They also say they are working with Thai authorities to provide medical assistance. Let's go to France now, where 3 high-ranking Syrian officials will be tried in absentia for their role in the death of 2 French Syrian men. The former head of Syria's National Security Bureau, the former director of the Air Force Intelligence Service, and the former head of the investigations in Damascus are all subject to international warrants for their role in the death of a 20-year-old student and his father in 2013 during a crackdown on protests against the Assad regime. Trials against abuses of the Syrian regime have already been held elsewhere in Europe, but these are the highest-ranking officials to go on trial, even if in absentia. And let's end this tour of the world in South Korea, where on Saturday about 100 people took part in the power nap contest. It consists in trying to sleep for about an hour and a half while being distracted by feather tickling, whispering, and mosquito noises. Organizers say the contest is meant to raise awareness on the importance of rest in a nation that scores among the lowest sleep quality in the world and to provide sleep-deprived individuals with a space to take a break. What is not clear yet, Christine, is whether the winners managed to wake up in time to collect the prize or they just slept through it.
Now, that is a contest I would like to take part in. The best sleeper for an hour and a half. Yep. Claudio, thank you so much. All right, officials in Paris are preparing for the Summer Olympics by making the City of Light more climate-friendly. Car traffic there has dropped by more than 40% since 2012, thanks to city redesigns that keep bikers and pedestrians in mind. NBC News national climate reporter Chase Kane has the details.
In this 2,000-year-old city, Paris is going back to its roots, literally. Planting 300,000 trees as part of its efforts to combat climate change in advance of the Summer Olympics.
We need to invest now, we need to transform now. Paris needs to be a green city to make the city more sustainable for the future generations.
Paris's deputy mayor gave me a walking tour to see how the city says they've reduced car traffic by more than 40% while doubling trips on bikes. And all that cuts emissions.
Paris is converting more of their streets to vélo rue. Literally translated, it means bike street. Roads where bikes have the priority, where people have the priority over cars. Basically just making it a nicer place to get around.
By 2026, Paris plans to be 100% bikeable and walkable, and experts say that's a goal more American cities should also embrace.
If you look at the cities around the world that are most visited by American tourists internationally, they are cities that are walkable, that are interesting to explore. So I think there's a clear economic case for redesigning cities.
Karen Cito studies sustainable cities at Yale and points out that local businesses do better in pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods and that people are healthier and just happier too.
If we redesign our cities for climate, we are actually redesigning our cities for health, human well-being, social cohesion. And again, I just want to underscore, this is how cities have been designed historically.
Which is why some of the most walkable cities in the U.S., according to WalkScore, are some of America's oldest cities. Boston, New York, San Francisco, Chicago. But even in more car-centric Florida, Miami Beach has converted streets to pedestrian malls and built miles of bike lanes.
Cars were created to allow humans to go where we wanted. But we're starting to remember that we really like these kinds of walkable neighborhoods. In Miami, we see a high demand for people who want to live in South Beach because it's an enjoyable place to be.
Personal vehicles account for more than 15% of heat-trapping emissions in the U.S. So every time we walk or ride a bike instead of getting in a car, it's our own little step for climate action. In Paris, I'm National Climate Reporter Chase Kane.
All right, coming up, a major change is coming to all those prescription drug ads that are seemingly everywhere on TV. After the break, how the FDA now is working to make sure those side effects, which can sometimes be concerning, how hard to understand, how they come out a little clearer. That's next on Morning News Now. And we're back with big changes coming to your TV. You're probably familiar with those long readouts of side effects in prescription drug commercials. Well, now, new requirements from the FDA are in effect to make them easier to understand. It is the first major update in pharmaceutical advertising since 2007. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us now with more on what you really need to know about this. Liz, good morning.
Hey, Christine, good morning to you. Yeah, you know, we've all been there, right? You're locked in watching a big game or show, and then it cuts to commercial and an advertisement promoting a treatment for a condition, followed by a list of potential side effects that sometimes can even include death. It can be confusing, scary. Well, now the FDA is requiring commercials to more clearly spell out potential side effects and when a person should avoid the medicine.
You can't miss them. Seemingly during every commercial break, ads promoting the virtues of some new drug, nearly all ending with a dizzying list of potential side effects.
Side effects include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, which can lead to dehydration.
Some quite serious.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke.
The bevy of side effects often leave consumers confused and concerned.
Oh my God, I wish I could remember the list of the side effects, but my Lord.
The medicine is not going to cause all those side effects. The medicine can cause all of those side effects. And I think that that's a major, major nuance.
Now, a new era in medical advertising as the FDA's new transparency rule takes effect, setting out 5 general standards to help ensure these medical ads are clear and not misleading. Side effects must be clearly spelled out in language that is consumer-friendly. TV ads must present drug information with audio and video at the same time. Gone are those rapid-fire disclosures. On-screen text must be easy to read, and nothing should distract from understanding the major side effects. The new rule applies to pharmaceutical companies, manufacturers, and distributors of prescription drugs, but does not address the flood of potentially misleading content on social media. NBC News reached out to 8 drug manufacturers. Sanofi, makers of Dupixent, responded, saying in part their advertising keeps consumers well informed about their medicines and vaccines and that it adheres to all applicable rules and regulations. In guiding principles Big Pharma laid out in 2018, they say their prescription medicine ads provide accurate, accessible, and useful health information to patients and consumers.
No matter how far I think the FDA tries to go with this, nothing obviously is going to replace a conversation that a patient's going to have with their doctor.
So to do that.
And Christine, manufacturers are not required to elaborate on how a drug works or precisely which patients would benefit from taking it, which is another reason why you should always consult with your doctor. Drug makers have 6 months to come into full compliance with this new rule. And one thing that is still unknown is how aggressively the FDA will enforce the requirements. Christine.
All right, Liz Kreutz, great reporting. Thank you so much. Turns out we do have a doctor to talk to about this. Now let's bring back Natalie Azar for more on this. Good morning, Dr. Azar. Okay, so what should people know about these new standards?
Well, look, I mean, I think we've all been in a situation as a viewer, right, to see these commercials flash in front of our eyes, and maybe we identify with it. We say, oh, I have type 2 diabetes, or oh, I have rheumatoid arthritis. And you're trying to sort of get this information. And then, as Liz pointed out in her piece, this rapid fire listing,
may cause,
Exactly. And I think that that's confusing for the consumer. Look, I mean, the whole point of these commercials, they're not really educational videos, but what they do is they do try to create a positive expectation, right? You're going to feel better. And they do that by trying to minimize the potential side effects. And that's kind of been their hook all along. But it does leave the consumer kind of scratching their heads and going, would I ever take a medicine like this that could cause death?
So, you know, the FDA is talking about television and radio.
Yes.
Not social media. There is a lot of misinformation and garbage about drugs and side effects on social media. Are you concerned that there's just two different universes of information here?
There definitely are. And I think we've known about this. I mean, it actually... the origin of this kind of misinformation came during the opioid crisis, where they kind of were sort of overselling OxyContin as being so great and not dangerous at all. If that had existed in the time of X, aka Twitter and social media, you can imagine the problem would have been much, much greater.
Oh, wow.
It's not even clear right now, Christine, how the FDA is actually going to enforce these new changes. That and certainly we have no idea what the actual impact will be. That remains to be seen. And we'll see if they try to reach farther into the media outlets that we discussed.
They've got 6 months to come in line here, drug makers do. What are you going to be looking for?
You know, look, I mean, I think to the degree that we know that these commercials could potentially influence behavior. We know that because, again, if you see something and say, oh, my goodness, I have this disease, I am going to go to my doctor to see if this medicine is right for me. We also are concerned a little bit about the placebo effect, right? That is say, if I take this medicine, I'm going to be running through fields, right? Which is why this whole idea that they need to be very clear and not be distracted by the people running in fields, you know? Listen, I think it's anecdotally very interesting. I have patients who come to me all the time and I say, I'm going to make a recommendation to start you on this medicine. And they say, oh, my God, absolutely not. I saw those commercials. I would never take it.
Interesting.
I know. There's my own little N of one, but that happens all the time. The other thing that happens all the time is that patients come in and say, can I take this medicine for my disease? And I say, that's not the disease you have. So clearly we have a long way to go. Patients need to know how to select themselves correctly, and they also need to be to have a much, I think, better understanding of potential side effects. And as I said in my piece with Liz, you need to talk to your doctor about this. You know, you're not making a decision based on a 2 or 3 minute commercial.
Well, and remember, a commercial advertisements are to sell you something.
Correct.
That's not out of the goodness of their heart.
It's not
to
an
sell
educational video, period.
At its core. All right, nice to see you, Natalie Azar. All right, now to some welcome news for Target shoppers. The store just announced slashing prices for nearly 5,000 of its most popular items. The retail chain had already dropped the price on 1,500 products, many of them the company-owned brands. For more on this, let's bring in Yahoo Finance senior reporter Brooke DePalma. Good morning, Brooke. This is a pretty big deal for shoppers, and they're talking about savings from butter to spinach to the kinds of things the company says this is to run your household and maximize your budget. Where can we see the biggest savings?
Yeah, Christine, these are everyday grocery staples that American dollars are really going towards right now. And so consumers can see a welcomed change in price when it comes to everyday goods that they're flocking towards, like Clorox wipes, like laundry detergent, Avito sunscreen, just in time ahead of this Memorial Day weekend and summer, 4th of July, as well as other items like baby wipes, as well as their private label brand Good and Gather, baby spinach, and unsalted butter. And once again, this is where Americans are spending their dollars right now.
You know, the announcement comes just as the White House is putting a lot of pressure on grocery stores and big profitable retailers to lower prices, especially after posting record profits. How much of an impact do you think it has, the Biden administration really pressuring so many of these companies saying, hey, wait a minute, your profit margins are growing, you're making billions of dollars, and you're nickel and diming your customers?
Yeah, Christine, price gouging has been a topic and focus for the White House over the course of the past year, as well as Senator Warren and other Democratic lawmakers accusing these companies of raising prices just to increase profit, rather. And President Biden, the White House, taking to X, aka Twitter, yesterday evening, saying that this is a win, that companies are answering the call here. But largely, if you take a step back and look, companies are really doing this because they're seeing consumers pull back. They're seeing negative sales decline for the past 4 quarters. And in addition to that, we're also seeing a pullback from low-income consumers. And so they're really hoping that this decrease, this cutback in prices will re-entice consumers to come back in stores and spend more here.
Yeah, let's be honest. Customers have been spending, and recently they want value, and they're starting to spend their money where they can find their value. We're going to see a Target earnings report tomorrow. What kind of challenges do you think that retailers are going to face here? I mean, if they keep dropping prices, of course, then that hurts their profit and hurts their margins.
Absolutely. And what I think we'll see here is Wall Street is expecting yet another fourth quarter of sales decline, nearly 4% this coming quarter. This is their fiscal first quarter. So really year to date to see the state of the consumer and how exactly they're responding to this value. But in addition to that, what exactly Wall Street is really looking for is how exactly that private label brand, the one we mentioned at the top, Good and Gather, is running. And as we know, that is a really accretive business for Target as consumers really flock to get the best bang for their buck. And we often see that with private label brands. And so many on the street focus to see how those private label brands are performing here.
Look, Target has a lot of competition. I mean, Michael's lowering stores. Aldi, the food chain, has lowering costs. Aldi, the food chain, keeping prices below regular grocery store prices. Walmart saying in its most recent call, frankly, that higher income people are coming to Walmart and shopping at Walmart for value. So Target's got a lot of competition.
It really does, Christine. And what we've heard from Walmart is that with their low price everyday strategy, they've been able to win income cohorts across the board. And they're not just saying that they're looking for low prices, but they're also looking for convenience. So they're really doubling down on that Walmart Plus subscription, looking to entice consumers to do pickup, do delivery, do their one-day, same-day delivery. And what we're seeing, too, is consumers turning to Walmart for groceries, something that we haven't heard in years past, but just that whole enticement that everything is there for them, that they could be a one-stop shop, has really lured in income cohorts across the board here.
Yeah, Brooke, I think for the first time in 3 years, it's the consumer that has the upper hand. I really do. I think there are going to be more value plays out there over the summer. Brooke DePalma, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Coming up, shocked and angered, the latest controversy surrounding ChatGPT that for one high-profile actress comes straight from Hollywood. We'll explain next. We are back now with an inside look at the newest artificial intelligence controversy. Actress Scarlett Johansson is accusing the parent company of OpenAI of openly using a likeness of her voice without her permission. NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung has been following the story and joins us now with the latest. Good morning, Kaylee.
Hey, Christine. So Scarlett Johansson's team told NBC News not only did she refuse a request from OpenAI to voice its new virtual assistant, she declined after the company's CEO approached her twice. Now she says the company reluctantly agreed to take the voice they call Sky down only after she hired legal counsel.
This morning, an AI warning from Hollywood. Actress Scarlett Johansson saying this voice used by OpenAI's virtual assistant Sky.
Hello, I'm really excited about teaming up with you.
Sounds, quote, eerily similar to her own.
Hi. How you doing?
The actress famously played an artificial intelligence system in the movie Her in 2013.
Do you have a name?
Yes. Samantha.
Now warning, tech is imitating art too closely.
I'm a virtual assistant that can help answer questions.
Johansson says OpenAI CEO Sam Altman wanted to hire her to voice Sky, but that she declined the offer due to personal reasons. The actress telling NBC News when she later heard the AI voice, she was shocked, angered, and in disbelief. She points out Altman insinuated the intentional similarity when he tweeted a single word, her, the day the ChatGPT product was announced. Altman has previously said Her is his favorite movie about AI.
But yeah, I think Her got something deeply right on the interface, and that is no small feat.
Once the voice was released, many on social media immediately picking up on the resemblance between the two voices.
Hey, is your voice supposed to be Scarlett Johansson?
No, my voice isn't designed to replicate Scarlett Johansson or any specific person.
OpenAI categorically denies the allegations, saying the company cast the voice actor behind Sky before reaching out to Johansson. Altman adding in a statement, the voice of Sky is not Scarlett Johansson's, and it was never intended to resemble hers. Out of respect for Ms. Johansson, we have paused using Sky's voice in our products. This latest controversy comes as artificial intelligence has faced increasing criticism for a lack of protection over creative likenesses and the use of deepfakes.
Lawmakers have been extremely concerned about deepfakes, deepfake audio and deepfake video, where you're able to take somebody's voice and make it say whatever you want.
And remember, this is just the latest controversy at OpenAI. A number of employees have left the company recently over what they call conflicting priorities, and many have accused OpenAI of not being transparent about where they're getting the data to train their models. Christine, I don't think you will find it as any surprise to hear that Johansson's legal team wants to know all the details about how OpenAI created this voice, Sky.
Yeah, it sounds like Scarlett Johansson.
To the ear, to you and I.
It sounds like Scarlett Johansson. All right, nice to see you, Kaylee Hartung. All right, let's get to some money news. And Apple is pushing back on a hefty fine from the EU for hitting the block button, so to speak, on streaming apps like Spotify. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us now with that and other dollar signs this morning. Good morning, Silvana.
Hey, Christine, good morning to you. Well, let's start with Apple. It's challenging a $1.9 billion fine from the European Union for thwarting competition from music streaming rivals, including Spotify. Bloomberg reports Apple has filed a lawsuit to overturn the decision, which was announced in March. The EU's fine also includes an order to stop Apple from preventing other music streaming apps from telling users about cheaper deals outside the App Store. Apple has declined comment. Microsoft's annual developers conference starts today, and ahead of that, the company unveiled new Surface devices it's calling Copilot Plus PCs. Integrated with AI features. They come with chips supplied by Qualcomm and start at $1,000. The AI features include a real-time voice assistant and recall, which can find files or data on your device, even if it's in a tab from a browser page. And Nintendo is buying a video game studio to expand its library of third-party titles. Shiver Entertainment previously created versions of Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat for the Switch. Nintendo says the acquisition reflects efforts to add high-level resources to convert and develop software. Earlier this month, Nintendo said it would launch a new version of the Switch in the fall of next year, Christine.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much for that. Coming up, a graduation gift that's a little bit sweeter than most. After the break, the creative confections that one North Dakota teacher is doling out to her students for a senior send-off like no other. We'll be right back. If you are a parent of a graduating senior or a high school teacher, this time of year can get expensive. The more graduation announcements you receive, the more gifts you feel obligated to give. But now one North Dakota woman has found a creative solution that saves her a little money and allows her to give her students a personalized gift. Reporter Jody Kurzman at our NBC affiliate KFYR has that story. Those are good.
Cookies are Kathy Kedrowski's love language. Cookies are her way of congratulating her students when they graduate and providing them with a little taste of home. For the past 20 or so years, she's been giving these cookie cards to all students who send her a graduation announcement. It started as a way to save a little money.
I've been teaching like 40 years, and as a teacher, you get a lot of invites, and it was a $10 check, and after a while it was, that was a lot.
And so she came up with this poem.
When you're in your dorm room.
Every year, she prints out a few dozen copies and gives them to students.
Air conditioned or not.
The card entitles each graduate to a dozen of Mrs. K's famous cookies.
I don't get very many returned, actually, but they all are very thankful, and they remember 10 years later, 18 years later, that they still are holding on to this card.
There is no expiration date on the cards.
Still works, right?
That turned out to be a blessing for Dustin Hibble.
Kathy, stumbled upon your cookie IOU.
Dustin graduated from Trinity High School in 2011.
My taste buds are ready for a blast from the past.
He just cashed in his cookie card a few months ago.
All I said was, oh, it's been a long time. I can't believe I haven't lost this.
Kathy remembers that cookie delivery with a smile and a story.
It was a cold evening, and I got it in the mail that afternoon, and by 7 o'clock that night, I took it over to his house, and he was surprised.
Dustin says those might have been the best cookies he's ever had.
Means a lot.
Proof of the power of a good cookie and of a teacher who cares about her students, no matter how many years it's been since they sat in her classroom.
Wow, that's an amazing teacher. Our thanks to Jody Kurtzman for that story. Kathy offers 3 choices of cookies. She says chocolate chips made Mrs. K's way, sugar or other. She says in all the years she's been fulfilling these cookie orders, only one student has ever asked for something other than chocolate chip cookies. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.